Cash Flow Diary Podcast, episode 520.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cash Flow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cash Flow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cash Flow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here today because when it comes down to becoming a bigger, better, badder entrepreneur and building your cash flow and making things happen, one of the things that you must become proficient at is, well, honestly, having ideas, but not just having them, but massaging them. Not just massaging them, but turning them into something that, well, is useful in some way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, we can occasionally get sidetracked by that nasty little thing called life, where we've got to pay the bills and do other things, and they take us away from doing something that I believe today's guest would call meaningful. In fact, I think what's interesting is that it's truly the meaningful things that make the ultimate difference. And that's exactly what we're going to have the opportunity to discuss today, because I have with me none other than Doug Hall. He's the founder of Eureka Ranch. And, well, while it sounds like, he might be your typical entrepreneur at this particular moment, you got to understand he's also an inventor and an author and somehow whiskey maker. Those things all go together in his mind, and we're going to dive in to find out exactly how. He's been across the globe and on all kinds of media outlets, but here's the thing that I want you to understand today. Today, we're going to learn. Today, we're going to take notes. Today, we're going to take our ideas to another level and hopefully use them to make a difference. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get ready to listen, to learn, and to love Doug Hall. Doug, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm glad that you're here. You must spend a significant time just thinking, huh?
Well, yeah, I do. And it's different than most in that I've got kind of a whole brain, the right brain and the left brain. And I approach innovation in a very different way than others in that I'm a chemical engineer. My dad worked with a guy named Dr. W. Edwards Deming, who transformed Japan after World War II, who taught systems thinking. And I approach innovation as a system. And Deming was very big about measurement, that you needed to measure things. And so I am compulsive at running experiments to figure out what makes an idea succeed, what makes it fail, what makes a team successful at creating ideas, what helps an individual who thinks they can invent to be able to invent. And I'm just compulsive at measuring it and then turning those into reproducible systems. And that's what the Driving Eureka book is. It's literally the state of the art. It's my 7th book, but this is the one that literally brings together everything that I've learned at this point in time until I do the next edition.
Totally understood. Totally understood.
Because it really is. It is such a new field, measuring, because so many people think, you sit in a lotus position on the top of a roof and wait for the lightning to hit you or something. That's not the way it really happened.
Oh, I had a funny mental image right there, and I'm sure a number of people did. Now, this being your first time here, I got to ask you the same question I tend to ask everybody the first time that they're here. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes. For example, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Black Widow, etc. Because I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton of things in common. For example, as an entrepreneur, occasionally I can envision myself flying around town, using our products and services, and saving our customers one sale at a time. And yeah, at that moment, I'm probably wearing a cape. Also, though, like a superhero, there's a time where an entrepreneur has a beginning. If you think about say Spider-Man. Peter Parker, he was just a kid going to school, doing his thing, taking photos. And then one day he gets bit by a spider, discovers he's got a superhuman ability, and then gets to choose to use it for good or for evil. So my question to you is as follows. Before, being featured in the likes of the Wall Street Journal, Dateline NBC, CNBC, before your 7 books, before, Eureka Ranch, before even the whiskey making, which we really must understand, before all of those things, what we want to know is, who is Doug Hall?
A really curious guy. I mean, I just have there is something, at age 12, I started my first business. I made learn to juggle kits for reasons I'm looking back on it now and go, why did I do that? I was just curious to see, could I do it? Could I teach people? And could I actually sell them? And I did. And so it was that curiosity that throughout my life, I've been focused on, I wonder if we could do this. And I get going on it. And next thing you know, it turns into the Eureka Ranch. We started in our basement with my wife pregnant with our 3rd child. And next thing you know, it's a big company. And then I start making whiskey and crazy and doing it with accelerated aging. And it just gets bigger. But it's always drawn by a genuine curiosity, not thinking about, and I know this may seem contrarian, but whenever I've tried to make money, I've not. When I've tried to do something that mattered to me, something that I was curious about, something that I just said, there's got to be a better way to do that. I bet I could figure that out. When I started with something that was, as I define in the book, meaningfully unique, in other words, solve a problem that other people can't do, it's always worked better than I expect. And the crazy thing is I still look up and go, my God, I can't believe how successful it is. And you'd think after 50 years of doing this, I'd have figured that out. But I'm still amazed by it because I'm not even looking at it as a business. I'm looking at it as, geez, let's go really get into this.
Okay. All right.
And learn. And it's that curiosity. I think sometimes we get caught and the schools mess us up a little bit and the literature does. Because we have these people rewrite history on how they get into things. And it's like, that's not really how it happened. You started because something got inside you. You said, I want to work on that. And slowly but surely it became something.
Now, okay. There's a lot of questions here. But first, I got to know, what exactly is in a Learn to Juggle kit? Like, what? I'm trying to figure that out.
My father almost killed me. I went to the Irwin Plastics Factory. We were living in Nashua, New Hampshire at the time. I bought 600 balls and 600 rings. Okay. I walked him down the Water Street ramp and dumped them into his station wagon. I had to make like 3 trips to take him in there. And he comes out and he says, what is this? I said, I'm in the Learn to Juggle kit business. He says, you're into what? I go, yeah, I made some money shoveling snow and I'm investing it. He looked at me. And so you got 3 balls and 3 rings and some instructions on how to juggle. And I taught people how to juggle. And so.
Alrighty then. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's just the way you do it then. I like that. But there's something in that innocent, hey, let's find out. That I think, yes, as you mentioned, we may have lost, but you said something earlier that I wanted to tap into. I've often told people that, one of the reasons I do real estate because I'm not smart enough to invent anything. And that yet you said taking someone who believes that they can't invent to learning how to invent, which says to me, you've somehow taken this process of creativity and made it into a process that is repeatable, and I gotta understand that.
Well, and it starts with believing that there's systems and there's methods to this. It's not random.
Sure,
it's not a random dice roll.
But it seems random. I mean, from the outside looking in. Okay,
if you haven't been shown ways to do it.
All right.
Okay. But there are, and like I said, I'm compulsive at measuring. It's a flaw. I mean, I just have to measure everything, and I chart it, and I do control charts, and I'm just compulsive at measuring. And part of it is because I'm lazy. Because if I can find the method that works, I can do that easier instead of, like a random walk. I'd rather make it more efficient so I could do more cool stuff. But we measured thousands of teams. I mean, it's probably up to 9,000 teams now that we've measured in the act of creating ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried a lot of things. We said, is it fun? If you're laughing, does that work? Kind of, not really. We said, do you like what you're doing? No. Is it important for you to do it? No. What we found was that there were 3 things that got people to be able to create more meaningfully unique ideas. And we've reproduced it now about 7 times. And the first thing is kind of what people are getting from this show. They're getting it right now, which is, we called it stimulus. See, if you think of ideas as feats of association, you know how somebody says something and it makes you spark a new idea, just like you're doing right here?
Oh, man, all the time, yeah.
So if you take that process, because right now, this interview is now in a different place than you thought it was going to be because of those connections.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to go to some other wonderful place just by being present in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
What you have to do is you have to manage that stimulus. But what do people do? They go sit in a room with nothing in the room and they sit and they think, okay, I need an idea. Well, that's the last one you're going to come up with it. We call that the brain draining or the suck method of creativity. And it's painful for most of us. And so instead, what we do is what I've learned is that when I give people with stimulus to spark their brain, to disrupt their normal thought patterns, okay? So normally you might think A makes you think of B. Well, I want to put something in that makes you think of Z.
Mm.
And I do that by bringing in disruptive things. And I can bring in some stuff that's related. So if, say it's your business, a survey of customers, competitive benchmarking. But I could also bring you patents, because did you know that the number one way to find a big idea right now is to go look in the patent database? Because 98% of those things are in the public domain, and you can make an improvement on it, and you can build right off that. And in fact, there's 250,000, I write about this in the book, that are what we call flea market patents that you can usually buy for a couple $1,000s because they're gonna expire unless they get renewed. And so we can bring in patents, we can bring in future trends, we can bring in unrelated stimulus. And you make a system of gathering this stimulus together to then let your mind react off of to get to new ideas. What you don't do is sit and close your eyes and pray for a miracle. That's not going to work.
You mean staring at a blank page isn't going to do it?
I'm not going to do it.
Got it.
You need some stimulus to spark your brain. And now, so that's good, right? And that works.
Yeah.
But there's something that is more powerful, because I got that stimulus together and I'm looking at it and I've got all of my stereotypes, my views, my history, my past, my state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
If I bring together different people, if I bring diversity of people who look at the world differently than I do, ideally, really differently, maybe I don't even agree with them.
Yeah.
Then what happens is, and I'm going to do the math now, having 3 people there is not additive. It's not multiplicative. It's an exponential impact on the number of great ideas we get. So diversity, when I bring together a group of people who come at it and look at that same stimulus as me, but in a different way, and we ping pong it off each other, or spitball, as they like to say these days, that takes us to a higher level if we have a level of trust in the room that we're here against a common mission to do something. And so stimulus is the foundation. Diversity creates an exponential kick. And that's how you get the ideas to the level that and it's divided now, that you drive out fear. Because what the data shows is as your fear goes up, your creativity plummets. And the challenge is when entrepreneurs are starting businesses, they've got to be careful that they don't get themselves in a situation where it's a do or die, because at the greater their stress, that's why I love them to start the business while they're still working.
I see.
You can work double shifts if the second shift is on stuff you really love. Okay?
Understood.
And weekends. And get those going so you don't have that stress, because you're going to be much more creative, because when you got to pay the bills and you got to make the thing, it gets tougher and tougher. And the key to driving out fear at that point is to use research, or rapid research we call it, or fail fast, fail cheap, plan, do, study, act. There's a lot of names we use for it. But is to use data to build your confidence, where you test and you see, okay, look at like my whiskeys. We won't ship a whiskey unless we're a 2-to-1 winner against the big global brands, because I'm small. They got money. I don't. So I'm going to the only thing I can do is I can make a product that 2 out of 3 people like mine better than theirs. And if I do that long enough, I win.
Right.
And that's how we've won top awards, is we just make a better product. And people say, well, you got to do all this marketing. Oh, yeah, fine. If you got gazillions of dollars, it's not very sustainable, because the next person with gazillions of dollars steals your customers. But you drink my whiskey, you love it. So you don't. And so I win you as a customer because I make a better product. So stimulus, diversity, drive out fear. That's the key. Now, there's lots doing that, but that's fundamentally the 3 principles that matter. And the data proves that.
Well, there was something that popped into my head while you were saying this, because if you're saying stimulus and you're saying diversity so that we can drive out fear, to me, and again, maybe I'm going too far, but the standard model of the typical big corporation today is the exact antithesis of these 3 things. Is it not?
Yeah, that's why the Eureka Ranch has a great business.
Okay. All right. So that wasn't a random thought in my head. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute.
You're absolutely right. And that's why, and so here's the ironic thing about this. So we do 2 services, Eureka Inventing and Innovation Engineering.
Okay.
Which is what the book's about. Eureka Inventing, find, filter, and fast track big ideas. Innovation Engineering, teach you how to find, filter, and fast track. Guess which one most corporate executives want? They get a big idea or teach their people how?
They want to get a big idea.
That's right. And I sit there and I go, dudes, I could teach you how to do it and get the big idea. No, I'm not sure that I believe my people. You're kind of the guru. I want you to do it. I'm going to charge you ridiculous money. They go, that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Right.
I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. We can teach you, and your teams can be amazingly successful. I just before we got on, I just heard from a company that, and they've got a division down in New Orleans, just west of New Orleans, 3 other sites, and they do big, industrial type stuff. And I'd met the CEO back a while ago, and just passed, and I just heard, and he just said, you don't realize what you've done. You've taken our guys, most of which have not graduated college, and they've become so damn innovative, they're like grown the company by 50%, their division. And they've got they've got a whole laundry list of others. And they say, could you guys come in to help them go even faster? Because he says they're all on fire. They're all on fire. I mean, you can do this, but the problem is many executives today don't believe their people can do it. And I say, well, did you ever teach them? They go, what? I said, you teach them how to innovate? Well, no. Well, what's your system for innovating? Well, we don't really have one. How do you know a big idea when you see it? I said, well, I just judge it. Oh, that's an interesting system. How's it working for you? We don't believe in our people, and we need to believe in the people.
Well, that's okay. As someone, leading teams, I mean, that's what we kind of do in our business. It seems challenging to believe. It seems like, I mean, what you're asking sounds very big. It almost sounds like, hey, let's turn for many small business owners, their business is their baby. And you're saying, hey, give the baby to the kids and let the kids let it grow up and take care of it. How yeah. I don't know if you can hear the hesitation in my voice, but what you're saying is a challenging thought. It makes me nervous.
No, you're speaking the audience's thought balloons. Okay. So I'll give it to you real simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many teams do you know that win on a regular basis do it with one all-star?
One all-star?
No.
No.
Do it with the team.
Yeah. No. This is. Oh, okay. So all right, we're gonna have my fundamental conversation.
You got to bring them in. You got to bring them in because you can't do it all. And besides, if you do it all, any ones that are worthwhile are going to quit because they wouldn't work for a numbnuts like that.
You just described the Lakers, in my opinion, but that's a whole nother story.
Right, that is exactly right.
Oh, I'm going to get lots of hate mail for that one, but that's okay.
Yeah, but see, we've got this belief that rather than commit to those people, what we need to do is just go find an all-star that's just going to magically wave a wand to make it happen. But, Tom Brady gets a lot better. Sorry, guys. England. Tom Brady is a lot better because of a lot of those nobody players, but who play as a team.
Right. Well, and that's why people ask me all the time, how can you be a San Antonio Spurs fan? I'm like, well, you just said it, Doug. That's why I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan. They have been that way from the beginning. But and what's really the epiphany I'm having at this moment is I don't think I've ever once thought about my business team in that same way, in going, how can I make sure that everybody is their own linchpin, as Seth Godin would say, in some way, shape, or form. And this is interesting right now.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and I'm glad that you are enjoying what you are hearing thus far. But here's one of the things that's really important. One of the most important things that you can do is get started. One of the things that I've said before, and I say again, once you get started, stay started. But more importantly, there can be lots of roadblocks to getting started. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove one of those roadblocks for you and make it a little bit easier. Because the thing that I don't want to stop you is thinking, do I need a local number? How about a long distance number? Or should it be 800? How on earth am I going to make that happen so that people can contact me as I'm out there building my business, making my cash flow grow, but most importantly, understanding that it doesn't have to be difficult. Many of you may know, but if you don't, there's a company out there by the name of Grasshopper. And what I want you to do is I want you to go over to trygrasshopper.com/cashflow diary. Grasshopper is the entrepreneur's phone system. It works like a traditional phone system, but requires no hardware to purchase, no software to install. It's just a number that flat works. So if you are out there building that distributed workforce across many different locations, it's a way for you to still go out there and make your number be unified, simple, easy to use, something we've been using for quite some time. So again, go over to trygrasshopper.com/cashflow diary. Now, let's get back to the rest of the story.
I think most businesses don't get a good return on the amount they're paying for their employees because they hire them because they're innovative and they've got fresh ideas and they're smart, and then they hire them and tell them to just do what they're told. And the people just check out. Millennials, okay? Greatest generation ever to hire. I'm going to say it right here. If you lead them and you coach them, okay? If you lead them, if you present the vision, we call it the blue card, and you set, military calls it commander's intent. Yeah, commander's intent, blue card. It's where you set the destination of where you get to, but not the how.
Oh, I see.
You say why this is important. We need to take this hill. The reason we need to take it is because of these things. But then you leave the how they're going to do it up to those people closer to the work or in the field. Okay. It's different than saying, it's not Henry Ford's production line. Do this, do this, do this. It's let me paint you the vision of what I need to get to. So our vision for the Eureka Ranch is to enable innovation by everyone, everywhere, every day. That's what we're going to do. It's a change the world kind of thing. Okay. And when I went to the folks and the lady who I've put in now as CEO, back a number of years ago when she was lower, I said, what do you think about this mission? She said, well, if it's not that mission, I quit. I thought, this is the right lady. She's just as crazy as I am. And we've got a team of people that they are absolutely committed to enabling innovation by everyone, everywhere, every day, basically democratizing this and taking it to the masses. And so that's what we're doing. And that's what we're doing. And the team is engaged. And they're so much smarter than me. They're working the programming for the courses and for the software, these amazing software. I don't know how to do any of this stuff, but it's my job to set the vision of what we need to do along with the boundaries and then give them the training and tools to do the job. And then they're on fire. And we don't lose people. People never leave the ranch. We've had a couple where we had to, for whatever reason, but they were always tended to be old people. The young people, when you get them on mission and aligned to the mission of what you're there to do, they do amazing things. But what we tend to do is want to tell them what to do, in which case then, well, you're wasting your money.
So, okay, we gotta have this conversation. How do we go from, learning to juggle kids to Eureka Ranch? There's no way. I mean, that's really a big jump. I've got to know more about the journey.
Okay, so after I did the learn to juggle, I thought, this is kind of neat. And so I started doing other things, and I decided I wanted to be an inventor.
Okay, hold on. You just decided. You're like, I'm going to be an inventor. One day, I know I'm going to be an inventor. Seriously?
Yeah, that's right. So I had invented the juggling kit. Okay. And this was back way before juggling became, now you can get a lot of juggling balls. Back then, there was none of that. And I thought, I think all other people would like to learn how to juggle. So I'm going to invent a kit to teach people how to do it. And then that was kind of neat. And then I went to my dad, who was very old school, engineering physics major. And I said, I want to be an inventor. Now, you can imagine the 1950s man looking at this like saying, oh, what is my son want?
Yeah.
So he said, his advice, I'm sure he thought about this for a while. My dad's since passed. He was wonderful, but I'm sure he thought about this for a long time. And he said, Ben, I think I've thought about it a lot, Doug, and I think you should become a patent lawyer. You should get an engineering degree and then be a patent lawyer. That's a good job for an inventor. Now, so I went to school. I took chemical engineering because, and then I got partway into chemical engineering and I realized I kind of like the inventing thing. And so I started inventing other stuff during college and then Procter & Gamble, I worked in one of their paper plants, and then they offered me a job in brand management, which I thought sounded neat because they said it's kind of like where the consumer and the technology and manufacturing and finance comes together. I go, that's kind of like inventing, business, inventing business. That's the same thing. So I went there and I stayed there for 10 years where I became what they called master marketing inventor. We put 8 products on the market in 12 months, breaking all the rules to do it. And my rule was simple, and this is a great rule for you if you're at an organization, is every 6 months I would look up and say, am I smarter than I was 6 months before? And so January and 4th of July, I'd look up, and when January I wasn't, so I left. It was that complicated, not at all complicated.
Wow.
And I started doing, and at the same time, I had started about 4 years before that. I started inventing games and toys because you can get high royalties on that. And P&G thought it was just humorous that this executive was inventing toys and games. And so I did that, and I started Eureka Ranch, and I also started a company called AccuPoll. And as I came out at a perfect time because the corporate world was desperate for new ideas, and I got Nike and Walt Disney and Pepsi Cola back when Pepsi Cola was hot, and did TV shows and books and all kinds of stuff. And then about 10 years ago, I got fed up with creating ideas and then seeing them not happen. They get killed in the corporate bureaucracy. So I went on campus and I created this new field of academic study called innovation engineering. We can get minors in it and graduate certificates. I didn't even know what it would take to do it. I just thought it'd be a neat thing to do. And next thing you know, we've taught 35,000 people. We got $17 billion worth of ideas and active development around the world with it. And it just, again, it was exactly what I said at the front. I didn't try to make it a business. I just thought it'd be neat to teach other people how to do it. And next thing you know, it's grown and grown. And now I'm into whiskey. And my wife we went to our high school prom together. And I went to her, I said, I think I'm going to do whiskey.
Of course.
And she said, yeah. I said, well, I know. I talked about maybe retiring. She says, Doug, I'm under no delusions. I know what I got into when I married you. She says, just have fun with it. And so that's my rule with the whiskey business. This corporate stuff can be sometimes a bit tense. We donate scholarships to students and small businesses, 98% scholarships to do it. But the whiskey business, if this isn't fun, we're not going to do it. It's just pure fun. Where sometimes the other stuff you have to do stuff to pay the bills. But
no,
I know that's a bunch of rambling.
Well, I'm just amazed at to meet someone who's taken ideas and made it my business is to come up with an idea and then give it to you. It's just
I know.
that
the
is
markup's
amazing
really
to
good,
me.
by the way.
I can imagine. I can imagine. But you said something that I'm curious to understand more of, because again, it's just my ignorance. You said you got tired of seeing the ideas go to corporate. It made it sound like they went to some sort of corporate graveyard and just died.
So it's a sad thing.
What is that? I don't understand.
It's a sad thing. When ideas go into the development system, in most organizations, they will lose on average half their value because people will compromise instead of making them better. And so the system kills the ideas. Remember the old product Crystal Pepsi?
No.
It was a product called Crystal Pepsi. It was a clear Pepsi.
Okay.
Came out a number of years ago. The original product was a more refreshing cola because it had no caramel in it, no caramel aftertaste.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a more refreshing, lighter, cleaner, fresher tasting cola. Okay. Amazing product. Amazing product. Goes into test market. It's tearing it up. Okay. I'm up at Pepsi's headquarters up in New York, and I was brought into a room and they said, Doug, we're going to advertise on the Super Bowl along with Lipton Original. You worked on both of them, I know, and you helped us with them, and that was wonderful. But I need you to see this so that you don't blow up when you see it with the big boss. And Megan showed me this commercial where they had changed it from more refreshing cola, no caramel, cleaner, better taste, to a no caffeine, no color, no nothing, and a degraded product in my mind. And I said, what happened? And she said, no, they got scared. The product was so good, they were scared. Now, go ahead another 15 years or 20 years, whatever it is since I did that. How much more powerful it would have been for them to have this sparkling, light, clean.
Yeah, the words resonate.
Today. But the corporation, the system got to it.
Interesting.
The system got to it. And that's one example, and there's thousands of these examples. I mean, before Blockbuster went down, we had a whole reinvention of that setup. Before Circuit City went down, we had a whole reinvention of that went down. And they get killed. The ideas get killed as they go through the bureaucracy because there isn't alignment. There isn't alignment that everybody's sitting there to innovate. There are people who make it their job to be the no people. And so we're not working as a team. We're fighting each other.
Well, okay. I would argue that some people believe that they're, in this case, protecting the shareholders or somebody else's interest. Is that not like, I mean, in my world, the CFO is always the no person. So, that's what they're doing.
But in our world, the CFO actually loves us because we've put data behind it. Now, the CFO, when somebody says, trust me, it's going to be big, I can feel it. Well, the CFO should show them the freaking door. Okay? That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. And so if you're data driven, if you're doing the rapid research, if you're doing the measurement, and and yes, you can. So just get over your excuses. I can see those stop balloons. You say, well, you can't measure my stuff. Get over yourself. I can measure creativity. Okay? So you got nothing.
I'm open. I'm open to learning. This is good. I like it.
And so we can measure it. And so you got to add data to drive out that fear because you're doing something which hasn't been done before. If you're doing it right, because that's how you make more money. People don't pay more money for the same old stuff as everybody else. That'd be an idiot. People aren't stupid.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I love this topic. You're taking something that feels so intangible and you're making it concrete. Like, yeah, and you can do it too. And I'm just like, what? I mean, because in the back of my head, Doug, I tell people all the time that I am asset agnostic. I just want to produce cash flow. That's what it is. And the fact that real estate does it is wonderful. I've always wanted things like royalties, and I figured out how to get some of those. And then I wanted, and I've thought about the idea of a patent, and I'm like, that would be cool if I had one of those. But what on earth would I ever? And that's as far as it's gone. But you're bringing this back to the forefront and making it accessible for everybody. Like, it's your freaking business, dude. That's just amazingly cool to me.
Well, and think about it in your life. Has there ever been a time where you saw a product or you saw a service and you said, I thought of that once? Happens to everybody, right?
At least once.
Yeah. The difference is some people, when they think of that thought, they're curious. So they start messing around and it becomes something. Other people, society, their parents, their school, their peers told them they weren't creative. So they judge it's not their job to do it. I had parents, and in particular, a grandmother and a great-grandfather who told me I could create. My great-grandfather got in all kinds of trouble. He was a sailmaker up in Canada. He brought sewing machines in, and they made fun of him, called him the petticoat sailmaker, because you weren't supposed to use sewing machines to make sails. Business is still there now, 100 years later. But it's, I had the fortune of having some relatives that just said, well, of course you can. But so much of society makes us that we can't. And so that's why I'm so excited to be teaching in schools, and we're about to do a massive thing at community colleges. And then we're going into high schools and we're going to take it down. And this is all for nonprofit. And what we're looking to do is to get them at an earlier age, because the sooner we can get to them, then we don't have to do the lobotomy that we have to do with old people, to make them believe they can. I'm not saying I'm giving you a lobotomy, but
no, I mean, yeah, you're, and I get it. There are habits and patterns and thoughts and things that we have acclimated to that I have said that need unlearning. I mean, I go through this with all of our students and clients myself, so I get where you're coming from. I'm just, no one has been able to so clearly confront me with the possibility, nay, probability of actually being able to, because I've said this before, and I'm like, hold on, here's a dude that could actually help me get a patent. And again, I've never been specific enough to say I want a patent, and it didn't really matter to me. It's just a patent. I'd like to see it become something, and here you are. So I find
but see, I would argue that you do have an ability, but you just are preventing yourself, because going back to your superhero thing.
Yes, sir.
To me, the great entrepreneurs have very good spidey sense.
Yes. Yes.
They are very observant. You look at a real estate property, you're seeing things other people aren't seeing.
All the time.
You're seeing and sensing things. You've trained your mind to see those things. And entrepreneurs, whether it's me playing with wood and whiskey, and then it tasted like garbage, you had to spit it out, but I could sense something, and then I did it again and again and again. It's one part curiosity. I mean, you don't hold this podcast just to do it. You're curious to hear what you're going to learn. And you're very
Don't tell everybody my secrets, man.
You're very sensitive to listening to what's going on. And I've done enough of these, half these podcasts, 3/4 of these podcasts are Wayne's World, for Christ's sakes, where they're asking you questions and they're not even listening to your answers, and so you've got that sensitivity and understanding and picking up on nuances and that. And that's what great entrepreneurs do. But they do it. I'm going to connect the dots here now. They connect the dots not only with their customers, but with their team, with their investors, with their suppliers. They're in the moment and taking all this stimulus in and processing it, as opposed to being brain dead, and just going through the motions.
Oh,
it's so much fun, really. I mean, that's the fun part, because you never know what's going to be next.
Well, and what's funny is that I'm wondering, like, if my spouse and your spouse got together, had a conversation, what they would say, because my spouse has said similar things like you said that your wife said to you about. She's like, I knew what I got into, and I'm just like, maybe I'm not as far off as I think. So, and I think that's interesting. Now, I also know that for the people that have listened this far, they are probably overly curious. If they weren't curious before, they are curious now. They've got to find out more. They want to know more about Doug Hall and what is he up to, and what is this book, and so how can they track you down and satisfy this curiosity a little bit?
Well, I mean, the Eureka Ranch is a company. You can look up that. But I also have a a website that kind of connects to all the different stuff, which is just DougHall.com, DougHall. And for listening this far, we'll give you a little bonus. If you go to DougHall.com/VIP, so just DougHall.com/VIP, I've got a 1-hour audiobook summary of the book that you can download for free, or you can go to the typical platforms and listen to 10 hours of me if you can't sleep or something. I don't know. Man, have you ever done an audiobook? Have you ever recorded one?
I tried my audio. I started with my audiobook and I made it through the introduction and the first chapter. And then I was like, you know what? I can't do this. I'm going to hire somebody. That's exactly what I did.
God. Oh my God. I mean, it was an interesting experience.
Yep.
And it got it and people like it, but my God, it's a lot of work to do that.
It was hard. I agree with you. Kudos to you for making it.
Well, the problem is when you're reading it out loud, you also find your flaws. And so
I kept having ideas interrupting the words that that was my problem. I'm like, I can't do this.
I know. It's exactly that. In fact, I'm thinking my next book is called Busting Bureaucracy, the 4-Step Antidote, and I've challenged myself. I've said, I'm going to, every 3 chapters, I'm going to read the audiobook so I can figure out how to do the edit. I'm putting that into my editing process.
Yeah.
Because when you read it out loud, you find all of the junk. You go, man, who's the idiot who wrote? Oh, damn, that was me.
Right. You got nobody to blame. Totally understood there. Now, as we wind down, I got a final question for you because I'm curious to hear your answer. And because I have a suspicion it's going to be completely different than the other ones that we've gotten. But there's an individual or two or more that have listened, and they are at what I like to call the precipice of decision. They've listened this far. They're like, maybe they started in one place with their business before they were listening to us. And now they're like, you know what? I can make this happen. My ideas sound. I can follow through a process. This'll work. Or they're going, I'm going to be that entrepreneur. I'm going to make it happen, Doug. That's what they're saying to themselves right now. But like I know, that when we reach this precipice, oftentimes we have a companion, and that companion comes in the form of a voice. And it's a voice that reminds us of how it didn't work last time. And what? You're going to have a patent? No one's going to buy anything that you invent. What on earth do you think? And for some people, they are related to that voice. So my question to you is as follows. Let's pretend that this time it's going to be different. This time they're going to follow through. And they're going to do exactly what you say in the next 24 to 48 hours. Doug, what do they do?
Well, I mean, you gave me a bunch of junk there. That's really key stuff.
Yep.
And so let me give you a couple of truths. First off, the first truth, your idea stinks. Okay. And truth number 1. Truth number 2, if you have the mindset of never-ending continuous improvement of that idea, then you're guaranteed success. I just can't tell you how many cycles of learning you have to do. So you got to have enough ammunition to make the changes. All ideas stink at the front. They're not as good as you think they are. Nobody fails in a business because they introduced it too quickly or they did it. No, they fail because they didn't change and adapt as they learned. I mean, we built our whiskey system so I could make 1 bottle at a time. And I made 72 bottles in 7 days, of which 71 of them were garbage. And by the 72nd, I started to get something. But I could do it fast and cheap. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Find ways to experiment. Drive the risk out. I'm not a big one for the big leap. There's always a way to prototype, to build it, to test it, to experiment it, to learn. Build your confidence as you're going through it. And when people are like, oh, man, it's a big risk, I go, you got the wrong mindset, man. You've got the wrong mindset. It's not about the magic idea. All ideas that become something went through a whole lot of iterations, and then they became instant successes. I mean, that's how it works. And so, to me, get the audiobook and listen to it, because I really talk about this quite a bit in the book. Get that mindset. If you get that mindset, and you go to the spouse and you go to the others and say, it's like, I got investors for the first time. I'd never taken investors before, but I thought it'd be fun to do. I've got a weird sense of humor. I thought it'd be fun to do to get investors for the whiskey company. And I went to them, I said, I said, our products are good, but I can make them better. But the biggest thing I've got is a mindset of never-ending improvement. And I don't know how it's going to work, but here's a plan. It's probably wrong. But I will continue to innovate and make it work. And we got oversubscribed in 10 days. Because I wasn't trying to tell them a miracle is going to happen, because it's not. The stuff you don't know. Competition's going to act. They're going to react. Government regulations. I mean, I came out of a meeting this morning for the new distillery building we want to do, and the regulatory codes that we're getting are just like, they're hurting my head. And we didn't see that coming. But we're now pivoting, we're adjusting, we're adapting how we're going to do our process so we can reduce the costs. And if you go in seeing it as an adventure that you're going to learn and you're going to change, and the idea is going to come out differently than it went in, then all your stress goes down. But if you have to be perfect, forget it. Just quit now. Don't do it, because you'll fail. You'll fail. When you get that humbleness that you need to learn more, when you drive that, you're freed. You're freed of the anxiety.
I like it. You have developed something that I believe is very unique, and I feel very fortunate that we get to share this with everyone, and hopefully, as you continue your mission, more and more people will do that exact same thing. I definitely appreciate the unique way with which you approach, life in general. Even though it started with learn to juggle, that is still going to, I don't know what to say, but that's a new one. That was going to stick with me for a while. And I appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge, your wisdom and insight here with us today at the Cash Flow Diary, sir.
Well, and thank you so much for your consciousness and curiosity, and I'm going to say creativity in doing a lot of these interviews. And this one was fresh and original because of your just awareness and curiosity. So I'm not going to let you get away with that thing I can't create. I'm calling BS on that one now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? That means get over to DougHall.com/VIP. Why? Because you heard me have a transformation, and now it's time for you to continue yours. And the next step is at DougHall.com/VIP. Download that audio, then listen to it, then follow what it says, then repeat, because you heard like I heard that, you know what, your idea, it can and will succeed, because you just don't know how many learning cycles. Because what I heard was you're just a few iterations from instant success. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.